So this guy goes to his priest and he says to him, he says, Father, I think my wife's trying to poison me. And the priest says, well, let me talk to her. So he goes back and gets with him the next day and he says, son, I've talked to her. Your wife, in fact, I spent about 3 hours talking to her. Drank the poison. All guns are loaded. Finger stays off the trigger. So I'm ready to fire the gun. Every point, muzzle, anything I'm not willing to kill, destroy. And always know what is beyond in front of your target every single time before you fire your gun. This training is not a substitute for having somebody there with you that can teach you how to safely manipulate and operate a firearm, whether it be a pistol, rifle, or shotgun safely. It's worth the time, the effort, the money to spend to learn how to do things properly. There's no substitute for that. The handgun, I visually, physically inspect it, make sure it's a safe weapon. Magazine goes in there. I just happen to have 2 extra ones right there. Goes back. And right here, I have my carbine. I think the one I had in my last video was my little shorty, but this is my carbine. This one is visually, physically inspect to make sure this also is a safe weapon as well. Now, we've talked about a lot of stuff, and I want to talk about something today that we've not covered at all, or as the mountain folks would say, something we've not covered at all. We talk about our workspace, how important that is, that we monitor our threat and still be able to see our pistol, and we do our reloads, our malfunction drills, and whatever with that, and how we also do that with our long gun. Now, what I want to do is I want to refer to this carbine as my primary, and I want to refer to this pistol as my secondary, okay? So, primary, secondary, secondary, primary, primary, secondary. So we talked about how we do the same thing, basically. And I try to keep things similar. It just kind of makes things easier to process for me under stress. And I try to make things as easy as I can for me. When I talk about the way that I grip my pistol with my thumb down the bore, I do the same thing with my long gun. See where my thumb is? Down that bore. So my thumb, I'm driving, pointing my thumb. I know where my bore's at. Yes, I have an optic, and yes, I use my optic, and yes, I have fixed sights, and yes, I use those fixed sights. But moving fast, big targets, sometimes just working that thumb, driving the thumb, it's there again, in and of itself, it's a skill that for some reason you might need someday. So it's a good one to have. Now, let's talk about this. We've talked about how to go through ID in the port, going to our workspace with our primary weapon, and to do what we need to do. If that bolt's locked back, then I'll put another magazine in it. If there's a malfunction, I fix it. Boom, 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 get it back up and going. Now, what if I'm in a gunfight and somebody's shooting at me and I'm shooting back at them, and something happens and my primary goes down? Do I go to my ID and then to my workspace and then? No, because what I'm doing now, this gun is completely out of the fight. I'm out of the fight in essence. He's still trying to shoot me while all this is going on, okay? So I don't have that time. So what I will do when this one goes down is I will transition to my secondary and I'll continue to fight from there, okay? So this way I'm staying in the fight. Now, once I stop that threat and I've scanned my area, everything's cool. At this point, time and opportunity allows me to get my primary back, maybe back up and running again. I'm not going to holster and then grab a primary. Why? Because there's going to be a moment in time that I have nothing in my hands. Now, Murphy's Law being what it is, and that cat follows me everywhere I go like he does, this will be the time that I'll need a gun and I'll be like this. So I'm not going to holster and then reach for my primary. What I will do from here is I'm going to keep my weapon up and scan. I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of my primary, bring it up, then I'll holster and I'll get this one up and going. Bam, okay? So one more time, from here, my transition boom, 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 here. Bring this one back up, holster, there, okay? So that's what I'm doing. Now, when it comes to barricades, I want to find a barricade or cover as quick as I can. And remember, cover is anything that can stop a bullet, okay? The definition of cover. Now, there are such things as hard cover and soft cover, but cover in general is something that's going to stop a bullet. So, this being our cover, I want to make sure that I maintain what's called battle space. I don't want to get sucked right up on it. Now, it's human nature to do this. When somebody, especially if somebody's shooting at you, you're going to want to suck up as close as you can, but it's hard to fight from there. If you have to do some kind of self-aid, like with a tourniquet or maybe to a buddy, or work out some kind of an issue with your primary or your secondary or something, you can't do it and be sucked to cover. You can't move. You don't have that space to work and to operate in. So I want to maintain what's called battle space. Now, your battle space is going to be dependent upon the position of the bad guy. If the bad guy's got the high ground, then the farther I am away from that cover, the more exposed I'm going to be to the high ground. And the farther away I am from that cover, then the easier it's going to be for him to move to my side and flank me, okay? So I have to consider that when it comes to cover and the use of cover. Now, also when I'm behind cover, if I'm having to work on, say, my primary, I don't want to get down here and get all tied up working on it from this position. But even in this position here, behind cover, I'm still going to use my workspace. Why would I use my workspace even here? Because if the bad guy knows that my primary is down, he might take that opportunity to try to overrun me. It could be anything could happen, okay? Anything, just assume anything happened. So I want to keep my eyes up, my weapon here. So let's just say, hypothetical, he does decide to rush me from here. From this position, I can always sling and go to my secondary from this position because my eyes are up and I'm looking. And then, when time and opportunity allows, I go back to work and get my primary back up and running, okay? So, remember we talked about offsets on these weapons between your optic and your bore at close range. I think it was at the 7-yard line where I was at with the rifle. I was aiming here, but my bullet was striking here because it was about a 3-inch offset. So, in essence, what I'd be doing at close range was I'd be offsetting my dot about 3 inches above where I'd want my point of impact to be. So your point of aim, point of impact will be off because of that distance. Just know that that same concept applies if I'm shooting from a canted position like this, sideways. Except this time, my offset is not going to be up, my offset is going to be to the side. Does that make sense? If I'm close range, I'm going to be offsetting up high with my dot. If my gun is canted, then I'm going to offset to the side because of that space between the optic and the bore. Now, why would I shoot from a canted position? I'm glad you asked. The difference, if I use this barricade, if I'm shooting over a barricade, it could be a car hood, it could be anything. If I'm shooting and taking account of magazine, so I'm just going to shoot like I'm shooting from here. If I'm shooting from here, you see how much of me that is above this barricade? Okay, you see that? Now watch this. If I cant my weapon to the side, see how low now I am on my barricade? I'm less of a profile. I'm lowering my overall profile. So there's a benefit to that. So we need to kind of be familiar with that aspect of it also. So with that being said, just real quick, a couple of things. Working on your transition from your primary to your secondary, and then from your secondary back to your primary. Remember, from cover, always maintain that workspace even from behind cover, because you may need to transition even then back to your secondary. So just always expect the unexpected. That's basically, I guess, a better way of putting it. Never assume, but just always expect the unexpected and be prepared for it. Because there's one thing that's in common about all fights They're nasty. They're ugly. They're all unpredictable. You never know what's in the heart of another man, nor do you know his determination or dedication to his mission and what he's willing to do. Things that we might not be willing to do for our own safety's sake. Others may throw caution to the wind for the sake of their cause and do some things pretty unexpected. So prepare yourself for those type of encounters. Memorial Day weekend, remember what it's about. I just want to say that I thank God for all his blessings on me and what he's done for me. He's been good to me, far better to me than I will ever deserve. And I know you can probably say the same thing. And so, as I said before in my last video, I do continue to ask for you, prayer warriors out there, to pray for me, that God will give me discernment and give me strength and wisdom beyond my years, and some decisions in my personal life. And I appreciate if you'd pray for me now, and I'll shut up. Type, if you don't mind, give me some comments. Let me know that this is of value to you. When I put a video up, and you know, I'm looking for those things, and not for my own ego or nothing like that, but I want to know that I'm on the right track, and that I am reaching some people, and that it's some things that you see value in and worth. And if you do see value and worth in anything that I show you, then if you don't mind, take a second, let me know. I certainly would appreciate it. So, okay, y'all have a good week. Do something fun this weekend, okay? And remember, as always, you're the apple of God's eye.